You're listening to Resonating with Emmet O'Malley. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Welcome to Resonating with Emmet O'Malley. That's me. It's lovely to be here with you. Happy Tuesday, as always. Got a lovely show lined up for you today. The wonderful Hattie Whitehead, marvelous singer-songwriter based in London, is on the show. Hattie is a good friend of mine for a number of years, and her music, her writing, I guess just her incredible spirit overall is something to be experienced. So check her out on all the usual places, on Spotify and on YouTube and Apple Music and anywhere you listen to music. Bandcamp, I know she has stuff up there as well. And check out Hattie Whitehead on Instagram as well. So yeah, there's loads of stuff there that you can listen to. Pause the podcast and go and have a listen to some of her lovely music. Old Soul is a beautiful EP that she put out there a couple of years ago, and she's a couple of more recent singles out as well. If you want to support this podcast, sign up at patreon.com/Emmet O'Malley, and you will receive songs, videos, podcasts every month. I do a weekly podcast called Private Pod on there, which is just me rambling and talking a bit of shit, but it is a lot of fun and it would be great to have you on there. And that's where I put a lot of demos of new music that I'm working on and things that I guess I'm developing. I do a little video there every month as well for my patrons. And check out my music in all the usual places as well. youtube.com/Emmet O'Malley Music. And Emmet O'Malley Music on Instagram. Give me a follow there as well if you can. I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm on Spotify and anywhere else you listen to music. So Hattie Whitehead, what a fantastic artist, and as we discussed, it's just lovely to track her track her story through her material over the years. Her songs are very autobiographical, but in a sense that they're open enough to really relate to. I felt quite emotional listening to her stuff this morning because I hadn't for a little while. I made a documentary with Hattie called Journeying Home a couple of years ago, and that was about basically her journey to writing and recording and releasing her debut EP, which was called Home. And it was a big step for me as well. The first time I made a documentary that I shot myself, directed and edited. And I think it came out really well and I'm really proud of it. And you can check that out at YouTube. Just look up Hattie Whitehead Journeying Home. There's some really nice performances in there, and one that's really touching that I absolutely love. It was one of those things that when I filmed it, I was about to almost fall over because I was in such an awkward position. I was just positioned directly under the stage and the camera is kind of heavy. And it was Hattie performing her song Sunny, which is about her brother, and her dad, Tim, who is a fantastic musician as well. Tim did this sax solo at the end of Sunny. And it was this beautiful family moment, and I'll never forget it. And it just really struck me at the time. I hope that looks okay. I hope it's not really shaky. And in the end, it turned out, just the way it was. I think it was really cool and it fit in perfectly. So yeah, I've shared some really magical moments with Hattie, and I think she's incredible. A big shout out to Damien, who is Hattie's partner as well, who's a great friend of mine for many years. He's a great engineer and producer, and one of the loveliest guys you could meet. So a big hi to Damien, and I hope to see them both in person soon. That would be really lovely. We had a really personal chat today about things all the way from, I guess, musical beginnings, absorbing music as a sponge as a child. No, like like a sponge as a child, absorbing things like a child as a sponge. That's I don't even know how that would work, but it doesn't sound good. And then talking about the beginnings of putting her music out there, the musicians she worked with, and just the overall path of being a professional musician and artist, and the power of learning to be oneself on that journey. So I found it just really inspiring, as always, talking to Hattie. And check out, as I said, her music wherever you can find it. So now I will pass the podcast over to the interview that we had earlier. If that doesn't sound really awkward, I'll pass the podcast. Here is the lovely chat I had with the super talented Hattie Whitehead.
I mean, as for most people, it's been sort of mixed, up and down, quite frustrating at times, but also sort of moments of, you know, nice moments as well. So lots of enjoying of going on walks.
Yeah.
Lucky
yeah.
I like walks. But sort of lots of that, and we've taken quite a few trips to the countryside in Kent and stuff like that, just to try and be outdoors as much as possible, and not looking at the four walls.
Yeah, exactly. I found that it's one of the big benefits of this. Like, this year has been like crazy in so many ways, but one of the benefits has been that kind of just slowing down and stepping back, and just like having just regular routine of going for longish walks.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, I know.
Things like that.
And I mean, I feel like it's sort of, I don't know if it's the same for you, but I feel sort of quite lucky that I'm able to enjoy the slowdown a bit, because I know there's lots of people that haven't been able to do that, or people that have been working throughout, or that have like young children and crazy lives that are then contained in like a flat or whatever. But it's been nice as well to kind of be a bit more real, talking with people about how we all actually are, and the fact that we've all gone through something together has made it a slightly more socially acceptable thing to, when someone asks you how you are, to not just reply like, yeah, fine.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking about that recently, the fine thing, you know, fine.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't know what it is about that word, but well, I remember noticing it when I was a kid, and I don't know who it was. It might have been my brother or something, just saying like fine, and I was like, there's something up about that.
Yeah,
I didn't buy that.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And
Or was
I
it?
think it's yeah. Sorry.
No, you carry on.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say.
This Zoom thing is hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
I promise I'll leave pauses. You please go ahead. I'll stop.
No, it was just a throw off comment. It was just going to be, I suppose in Ireland it's grand. Grand could mean
exactly.
a lot of different things.
yeah, exactly. I feel that the grand almost has a little bit more of a, it's a little bit more genuine than fine. I don't know why. Like, as in, because grand can mean so many things.
Yeah.
You know. But it's a good point, definitely.
I guess because it can mean so many things, then it's always quite genuine.
Actually, it's a great way of avoiding things. Grand, because it's perfect. Because I'm grand. It's like, oh, I don't know what you mean.
And the reply is just like, oh, okay.
yeah, exactly. But there's a kind of there's a need to. I think there's a need to actually get to the core of things now, because things have changed so much. So actually, it just makes no point. There's no point in avoiding how we feel when we talk to each other now. It's because everybody is aware that things have been weird.
Yeah. and we've all got this collective things are difficult thing going on. So everyone's sort of expecting it when they ask, like, you know, how have you been? And it's like, no one's had a particularly easy ride through the last year. There's always been something that's been a bit difficult. So sort of there's like a bit of a door opened already to talk about things that are like not just sort of base level.
Yeah, definitely. And have you found it to be a creative time? Have you found some songs emerging from this time?
I have, yeah. I mean, not initially. At first, I was putting out like some little cover videos on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, they were great.
Ah, thanks. Yeah, it just started because I was just learning some more songs, and obviously didn't really know what to do with myself at first, having had a few bits of work cancelled or postponed, or postponed indefinitely. And so I was just learning quite a lot of different songs, playing a lot of guitar, and so I just started putting out these little covers from various points in my house. And with the writing side of things, I think it always takes me quite a long time to process whatever the thing is that's happened. And in a time where everything's really uncertain and you don't know what's going on and you don't feel particularly safe, it's not the best environment to write in. I tend to kind of like wait till things have settled down a bit, and then I'm able to like process a bit more what I may have been feeling at that time in the past. So I definitely kind of got more into writing later on last year. And then, I wrote quite a few new things, and predominantly not about lockdown.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. I totally relate on the idea of kind of nearly needing to come to the other side of something before I can write about it. I relate in ways as well with that around writing lyrics, because sometimes I get a pretty okay sketch of what I want to say lyrically, but I just don't have the words, but I have a kind of an idea or the theme, or there's something I want to say basically, but the words, like, it's like a really, I just have to write down kind of what I'm thinking, and then over time they turn into kind of more, I guess when I spend time with it, like live with it for a while, it turns into something a little bit more meaningful, or like the depth or the kind of connections are made in my mind over like, you know, a few weeks or a few months or something.
And I suppose at first you have like you're going through a thing that maybe you want to write something about, but the feelings and thoughts that are going on at that time, there's just so many of them, in my case anyway, that it's hard to like scale it all down into one concise song that really puts the point across. And like you say, you need time for the words to be meaningful, but also to be like concise enough for like a verse and a chorus or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It is a kind of a process of subtraction, isn't it? Yeah. Of like getting rid of stuff until the essence comes through in a few lines. Yeah.
One thing I have started doing actually in lockdown is I've started to meditate, and at the end of the time I'll just get a book that's literally just kind of, I guess it's kind of journaling, but the idea is just that I write just absolutely whatever's in my head at that moment, and for however long I feel like I want to do it for, or for as little as I feel I want to do it for. But I have found that that's quite helpful, and you know, you just like get everything out on a page first, and then you have a better idea of what your thoughts are around something, because you've blurted it all out. And then you can kind of look over it and see like, oh yeah, this sort of makes sense, and like,
yes, that's beautiful. I love that. I do some meditation as well, and I often thought like I want to have a kind of routine of writing stuff down straight after, but I don't really do it that much. Sometimes it happens, but like that sounds incredible. But the thing that what I thought of there was that kind of just writing out whatever comes gets rid of that like kind of critical voice inside, like that's what kind of idea is that, or what kind of lyrics are those, you know? 'Cause that's basically there all the time with my creativity. There's like this opposing force of like what are you doing? Like you need to give up.
Of course.
Like today.
Same, yeah. I'm sure that's a sort of unwelcome friend that most people have in their heads. Is they're sort of critical and like a bit perfectionist as well. Like, you know, that's not a good enough thing to write into this. And when you take that away, it's like really freeing. But I've even found myself with that little voice in there, even in these writing sessions where the rule is you write whatever comes to your head. But then I still find myself sometimes correcting something, and then I have to be like, oh no, that's not the rule here. The rule here is I'm allowed to write whatever gets written is fine, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that character like of mine, like in person. I'd love to meet him, like, you know, in the flesh, and just actually ask him, like, what would your favorite song, what would your best like song be, or tell me something about your creativity. And it would be the most bland bullshit thing you'd ever come across. Like it'd be a mix of loads of cliched things he's seen, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think it's all built on these, like, it has to be like this, and you should do that, and it can't be like this, you know? And
it's does it to such an extent that it's impossible to ever arrive at any conclusion at all, because it's never good enough.
It'll never get done.
Yeah, I imagine that voice as like a really sassy, like, woman in leather, like smoking a fag, like on a, you know, just being like, I don't know what her name is, like Sharon or something.
Sharon, okay, that's good. Just sitting at your gig in the back, just like, oh,
yeah,
she didn't play that one, did she?
Yeah,
oh.
Lots of tuts. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God, yeah. I'm trying to think of what I had an image in my mind of, kind of like a man in his kind of 50s or 60s, you know, with a kind of a big like overcoat and a little hat, and he's kind of like he's been working in this factory down the road ever since he was 16, and he just comes in and he just tells me all about how bad my stuff is, and that I should get a real job. Basically.
Yeah, lots of bitterness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And of course he knows best because he has the most experience with this stuff, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. He's really experienced in pursuing his dreams, hopes and dreams.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
You grew up like around music though, which is kind of incredible, which is lovely. There was so much music in your house growing up. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my dad's a musician. He plays saxophone, as you know. And so I grew up listening to, he plays jazz predominantly. So I grew up listening to a lot of jazz when he had his own way with the sound system. And when my mum had her way, it was more in the kind of like 60s, 70s folk type world. So lots of Joni Mitchell. She used to sing John Martin, May You Never to us as we went to bed. So yeah, it was quite a nice mixture of like sort of folk and jazz, and the odd playing of Mickey Mouse if I got my own way on the record player.
Yeah.
And lots of Disney songs. So yeah, and we went to a lot of gigs. So there's a jazz club in Fulham called the 606. I'm not sure if you've been there, have you?
Yeah, I've been a few times, yeah.
And I used to go there as a kid loads, like when my dad had a gig, and I'd like fall asleep across the chairs on the back row. So lots of sort of early music memories of being in quite a nice sort of community feeling music world, because a lot of the musicians that my dad played with were also like family friends as well. So it's quite a nice association with music from quite early on. And obviously the other associations of like the neighbours complaining because my dad suddenly has a song in his head at midnight and wants to play it on the piano. And wants to practice saxophone as well. That instrument really carries.
Definitely.
But yeah, it was really nice. And yeah, so it was, and it wasn't ever something where I thought, like, as a child, I didn't think, oh, this is so great that there's music here all the time. It was just, that was just life. But we did have like our family favourites as well. Like James Taylor was the car music for long journeys down to Cornwall for holidays. And like playing the same James Taylor album so many times that all of us knew what song was next on the album and what key it was starting in. That kind of thing.
Wow. That's amazing. So there was a bit of a, I imagine you were a bit of a sponge, you know, as a kid for all this incredible music.
Yeah, totally. And there's things that I'll sometimes hear now that I remember being around a lot as a kid, and it's just so funny that you might not hear it for 20 years or 25 years, but then you hear it again, you're like, you know it immediately because it's just ingrained in you.
And the kind of emotional response from it, I find that stuff is incredible.
Yeah.
There was one tape that I used to play all the time when I was a kid, and it was my mom's tape, but it was a tape of the Dubliners, and there was one song on it, and it's an old Irish folk song, and it's called Leaving Nancy, and it's just about, I thought in my child mind, I thought it was about like a father bringing his daughter to the station saying goodbye, but it was obviously about like two lovers saying goodbye, actually. But it's like, oh, well, that's her daddy, and you know what I mean. But anyway,
bye Nancy, have fun. Have fun at uni.
Yeah, exactly. Every time I listened to this when I was a kid, I would cry every time. And it was when this mandolin came in, like kind of in the chorus, this like, you know, kind of like tremolo, like a mandolin, and it was just a beautiful harmony. And I just start blubbering, you know, at that bit every time. And I listened to it like last year for the first time in years, and I started feeling the exact thing immediately. Wow. It's crazy.
And amazing that you had such an emotional response to the music as a kid. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. It was just really sad, because I think the idea that I made it about as well was kind of a bit drastic as well, you know, like kind of abandonment or separation or something, you know. Yeah. But it's like, the power of it's unbelievable. I was thinking as well, when you're talking about falling asleep at the back of the jazz club, you know, as a kid, that you were around a lot of musicians, and you were around seeing your dad probably playing with really good musicians, because I always noticed like about you that you always play with fantastic musicians, you know. It's like that's not a choice, or it's not there's no confusion around that, like you do know how to pick the right people for your sound.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you. I mean, I thank them, welcome. Really.
Well, yeah, it's a lovely thing, though.
I think it helps that that like I also did music at college and uni, so a lot of the people that I've met along the way have been sort of somehow through kind of studying it as well. Like Tom, that plays guitar a lot in my band, we went to college together, sixth form college, and then when I went off to uni, he went off to music college, and then he met a load of musicians at music college who I then met through him. So the kind of friendship circles that I was in was predominantly of musicians quite early on, or one group of friends was anyway. so yeah, that was another, probably another factor in that. But yeah, it's I think what I look for in musicians that I play with is that they are really understanding the music and understanding the sentiment behind the songs, and they are predominantly putting the music first over anything else. It's not about my ego, it's not about their ego, it's about making something that communicates an emotion really well.
Yes.
And you move your playing to fit with the kind of story of the song. And sometimes that's just playing one note repeated. And sometimes it's like absolutely going for it, but it's whatever the music needs. It's not like the audience needing to see you being a virtuoso.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's like serving the song, serving the music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely. Yeah. And that really comes across as well. This morning, while I was having breakfast, I took myself on a little bit of a journey listening to like kind of your catalogue, basically. And I started with the first EP, Home, and just went through to right up till now. And my God, yeah, that really comes through. Like when I listen to it, I really get the ideas really strongly, and they're kind of obviously the music, like the melodies and the chords and everything are all beautiful, but I mean the ideas of the songs, there's a real storytelling thing going on there, and a very much like it was just very biographical, you know.
Yeah.
And that's cool as well, to listen to a whole bunch of your stuff, because I know you as well. It's like I can kind of hear the story of that number of years going on there in your life, which is kind of, oh God, it's really moving.
Yeah, it is quite funny listening back to like older songs now and thinking like, wow, I was really young then.
yeah. And that documentary we did as well.
Yeah.
Like if you look at that, like, and it feels like it's, you know, 15 or 20 years ago, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's literally, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, but so much has changed. Like the one song that stuck out there when I listened to the first EP was Confused and Untied, that song, because that's really somebody in their like early 20s trying to figure their stuff out, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean that was basically just like, oh, everyone's got their lives figured out and I don't. Oh, my life is so awful.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So it's like every influencer in the world now, every Instagrammer.
Yeah. The TikTokers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was called Confused and Untied before that. No, but I'm not gonna degrade your music by saying that about it. I'm sorry. No, but the reason I said it is because it is a powerful song, and it captured that moment for you like really well.
Yeah. And I'm just remembering now, there was also a slightly more positive element to it in the end, I think. It was like, things will get better.
Yeah, of course.
In the long run.
Exactly. Yeah. It wasn't like wallowing or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, some of it was.
Oh, God. Yeah, and like, I don't know, just me thinking back about that time when I first met you as well, and was when I first met Damien, and then met you and used to go to your gigs and everything. Like, especially since we've been through this lockdown and everything, that feels like a different world away, that whole thing. Like, just going to these like cool little venues in London, watching yourself and your band, and everything seems so normal, like this is it. And now it just feels like it's like a weird movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Now it's a
thinking about
privilege to go and drink a pint outside in a pub.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best you'll get right now. Yeah. But it was, I think there's something about in these moments that I'm aware I'm talking way too much. Sorry.
No, not at all.
But, in these moments, they feel like this is the way it is right now. This is my life right now, and it has all the stresses and all the, especially like in our 20s or whatever, all the stresses and ups and downs, and I'm doing something new, trying something new, I wonder how it's going to go, etc., etc. And looking back, it just seems like, wow, that was such a incredibly powerful thing and a beautiful thing to have been around. I guess for me, just seeing you do all that, like, I think it was you starting to put yourself out there as an artist, basically.
Yeah.
The tentative steps at the start of it.
Yeah, it really was the start when we met as well. It was really early days, I think. Yeah.
Hello folks, it's me, the Patreon fairy. Sorry to interrupt the podcast, but I would just like to say that if you subscribe on patreon.com/Emmet O'Malley, that is EMMET OMALLEY, he will be very happy because he will be able to continue making these podcasts. You will get over 2.5 years worth of exclusive material immediately by signing up. Also, you will get one podcast per week that you can't get anywhere else. It's called Private Pod, and you will get exclusive music and videos every month. Sign up at patreon.com/Emmet O'Malley.
Yeah, and I was listening to the last EP you did as well, Old Soul as well, which was one that I listened to when it came out a couple of years ago there, and like, speaking of this autobiographical kind of thing, like I'm really aware of what you had been going through before that one, and I hope it's okay to mention that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Like, I know that you lost your mom, who I met, who's just an absolutely beautiful person.
Aww.
And but I again, this kind of narrative that just naturally happens listening to your stuff. You're being just so real with your work. Your work is like almost like a journal or something.
Yeah, it's been something that I've kind of found it almost easier to talk about what's going on in my head. It's been easier to talk about that in songs over the years since starting to write songs at all. And I think as I've grown up a bit, I have done a lot of work on making it easier to talk about things in a conversation, not just in a song. But it was really, it was a really important part of my grieving process to write songs about losing my mum, because my songs are all autobiographical, so it would be mad to just brush over that one, and it makes for. I did a project with my sister. My sister did a project called When Grief Came to Stay, and she got 6 artists to make a piece about grief in some way, and it was about grief being a character, and she gave each of us a different type of character of grief, and mine was like I'm rambling now. Mine was the welcome friend who sometimes turns up for an arranged lunch or whatever, and you welcome them in and you're prepared for grief to arrive. And sometimes grief is just turning up without any prior notice, but you still welcome them in and you still sort of embrace it as it comes. And that's been amazing in showing me sort of my own experiences of it, and kind of just putting some words to what I probably subconsciously was aware of already, about just sort of embracing it really. And one thing that I learned from the project, one thing that my sister pointed out from her research, was that because there is love, there is grief. And having been through grief makes for a song that is really, really honest and full of love and really real. So it's an amazing recipe, although it's something that we would all prefer not to be there in the first place. It's something that leads to something really beautiful because you're expressing your love for someone when they're not around anymore. And that's like the most meaningful love, because it's not for anything other than to just express it. They're not here to hear it. But you're still putting it out. So I don't know if any of that makes sense. It was very rambly.
It's not rambly at all. It's just really lovely to hear that. And I like the idea that just the powerful and beautiful impact the ones we love have on our lives, and for you to be going through that process and somehow explore it and bring it to this work. It's like, in a sense, like, you know, it's I don't know how to say this without sounding kind of awkward, but in a sense she's kind of there with you, you know, or something like that.
She's there, like she's there in a song.
Yeah,
and she's also there in sort of the legend that she left behind, you know, like in people's memory of her, and in what she taught to my dad and to her children. She kind of lives on there. Like, my sister really reminds me of my mum in a lot of ways, and I see my mum in my brothers as well, and I see my mum in my dad as well, because they were together for like 40 years. So you can't be with someone for such a long time and the two of you not kind of grow together and develop some similar personality traits, you know. That imprint, you know, that's just that stays around, and it's that's beautiful. Thanks so much for sharing that. I mean, it's a pleasure to talk about as well, because I think it's really important to talk about, and I think it's really important that people feel that they can, and it's not a taboo to talk about, because that's one of the things that makes it so hard at first, is that you just don't know what to say to people, and people don't know what to say to you, and you all want to do the right thing for the other person, but we just haven't practiced talking about it enough in this culture, in this kind of like Western culture, I guess. But I was going to say that song on the EP, I'm Seeing You Now, is about the sort of positive side of the grieving process, and even though it's really sad, it's like you can see, and it's about exactly that, being able to see my mum in things around, in people around me and in myself, and that I can mainly that I can feel her in myself, and what she's, and like the ground that she's prepared for me before leaving.
Wow. I was wondering whether I was going to say this or not, but I'm just going to say it. But I have a couple of very, very beautiful memories of your mum, and one of them is just seeing her at your gigs and stuff, and the lovely hugs she would give, and you know, she's just such a great presence, you know, and always so welcoming and loving. But I had this other kind of funny story, which was like, I had this really bizarre dream years ago where, you know, when you're having a dream and then you realize you're kind of aware you're having a dream.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, maybe you're a bit coming out of the dream. I don't know what exactly it is.
Is that lucid
but
dreaming?
Say again?
Lucid dreaming? I don't know. Is that what that is?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. By the way, anyone listening to this podcast, I'm not deaf. It's just sometimes on Zoom it's hard to. There's a little bit of audio stuff going on. But I may be deaf as well, but you know, that's a different story. But anyway, I had this dream, okay, and it was the most bizarre dream I've ever had, where I was in some office, like, you know, in a library, off the side of a library or something, and there was all these books, you know, in this room, and I became aware that I was heading out the door of this place, but I became aware that I was having a dream. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to like go to a random book and open it and start like reading it, and then I'm going to go to another random one, you know. And I had made this conscious choice in my dream to do something, and I could feel this really strong force like pulling me away from doing the thing once I decided to do it. Like this, I'm not supposed to do this. And I opened up a book. I managed to open up a book, and it was like, you know, in the Beano or something, when you see like a newspaper in the background, it has a squiggly writing, like it's not actually writing, it's just like zigzags, just to say, okay, right. And in the book it was like random words and just squiggles basically, and in the next book it was random, and it was like basically like, you know, in the Matrix or something, you're not allowed to look at this thing or whatever. And I remember like, oh my God, this isn't supposed to be part of my dream. My brain is trying to make this shit up just to fill in the gaps, you know. I got really like, oh my, and I woke up and I was like, that's so crazy. That's so crazy. And I was at the time in the habit of posting random bullshit from my head on Facebook, you know, back in the day.
Yeah.
And I just posted about this on Facebook, and I was just like, whatever, this is just, I don't know why, you know, but I did it. And anyway, I was like, why the hell did I post that thing, you know? And later on, I just saw this notification, and it was your mum had commented on it. And she was like, nobody else like had like even like, it's like, what is this bullshit? Your mom had commented on it, and it's like something like very interesting insight into, you know, something like your mum was like actually really like, wow, that's it, that's very, you know. I love it. Like, I was like, yeah, she's such a
she would have been,
I have this like lovely memory of like, oh, you know, like she might have just felt sorry for me.
No,
but
she would have.
It was really cool.
She would have been very interested by something like that. She was well interested she was really interested in dreams. So she would have been. Okay. Yeah. So it wasn't just a pity comment. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, and I can't remember exactly what she said, but it was very insightful and very like, you know, thanks for acknowledging me as a human being, basically, you know. And
she was very good at doing that. Like, she was, you know, everyone was really important to her, and it was really important to know and get to know everyone. She was like, she just lived and breathed inclusion. It was just she kind of looked into everybody's soul when she asked them how they were. And then she always got the real answer from people. She didn't get fine.
I absolutely can see that she wouldn't be like, I'm fine kind of person. I totally get that. That's awesome.
Oh, thanks for telling me about that. That's nice to hear about that. I didn't know.
I remember it made me very happy at the time. And it's cool. Are you looking forward to getting back to playing like live shows?
Yeah, I am. It's been quite, I guess it sort of makes you realise, I feel like we might have already spoken about this maybe last year, but doing less makes you realise the things that you really do want to do and the things that you really maybe don't want to do. So I'm tentatively looking forward to things kind of going back to normal, but hopefully gonna be, prioritising some bits of work over others, and really looking forward to playing to audiences that want to come and listen to music and connect in that way. That's something that I've really missed, is that live music relationship with the audience.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a really strong appetite for it, and for actually listening to your stuff, and actually listen. I think there will be, and I'm noticing it even before the lockdown kicked in and everything. I was doing lots of kind of pub gigs and covers gigs and doing my own stuff as well, but that was like my bread and butter.
Yeah.
And that's cool, but I would get into this mindset that I need to be banging these songs out, no major pause between the songs, just kind of, keep the crowd entertained, keep thinking about what song will I do next, what will suit the mood, like constantly. And that works in that situation. But then in the lockdown, when I did a few like live stream gigs and stuff like that around the time of my album coming out, and I had this kind of feeling in my mind that, I'm gonna have to keep them like really entertained all the time. What will I do next? Like, as in, I was in a little bit of dancing monkey territory.
Yeah.
Like and then realize, and I even would put out, and if anyone has any requests, just like, let me know, and what any song you like, and I'll try it. And then the comments were like, play another one of your songs, and that's the consistent thing, because they're not there because they're sitting in a pub or something. They're there because they came to see me doing my songs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's
so I'm coming to,
and that's how that's when they get, like we were talking about earlier, that's when they get the real performance, because it's something that you feel, and so you put it out. It's not just kind of it's not just sort of repeating a song that exists already, if that makes sense. I don't know. Exactly.
I think it's something to do with like learning to be myself and learning to be that.
Yeah.
In these situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you found that like since you started like releasing music and performing your own music, how has that journey been for you? Have you do you find it as a kind of a journey of self-discovery, or as we said before, kind of a journey of subtraction? Like, do you feel more yourself than you did like when you started, basically?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say so. I think it's really helped to release like kind of autobiographical songs, because you have no choice but to like show people, who you are in a song. But I think actually, I don't know whether it's to do with releasing my own songs, or maybe just to do with getting a bit older and like, I mean, I'm talking as if I'm like in my 50s now. I realise I'm not that old. but about like learning how to be like an adult and take charge of my own feelings and emotions and kind of own them and be okay with them, whatever they are. I think I spent a lot of my 20s sort of like trying to run away from all of the more negative stuff that was going on, and actually I don't think it necessarily really got rid of it. It just like ignored it for that part, and then it grew into, and then it would occasionally grow into a much bigger monster from being ignored. So yeah, I think, I don't really know what I'm trying to say here, but I think I I do feel more myself, and it's probably partly to do with sort of life experience and massively to do with the loss of my mum, and the subsequent counselling that I went to after that, and then partly, you know, taking all of those life experiences and sharing them with audiences. So sort of ingesting who I am and what I've been through and what my feelings are, and then almost solidifying my belief of that by sharing it with other people, and, you know, giving something that other people can hopefully also relate to with themselves and sort of apply to their own lives in whatever way they take it, you know.
Yeah. That's the thing about, I guess, I was going to say poetry, but like there is poetry involved in songwriting. It's a thing about when the ideas are reduced to those key ideas, you know, in the lines of a song, and it feels right. That's it. Like that's what it should be. When that clicks in, I think we're definitely in the territory of singing this to, let's say, 6 different people who have had 6 completely different life experiences, and they'll all get their experience out of it in some way.
Yeah.
Like they'll all get their story in there somewhere. Yeah. And there's that, like, I think because as well, you know, life generally can be so chaotic, and we can be running around chasing our tails and everything, that like as human beings doing something like going to a gig or just putting on our headphones and listening to something. But I'm thinking more like just sitting at a gig, for example, because you're in a confined space, let's say, and even if you're resisting being there, you're going to pay attention to what's going on for the next hour or whatever. And like I often think if there was like kind of aliens looking down at this like situation or something, they'd be like the people have gone to the place for their unlocking process, or their, you know, their healing, you know, or whatever it is, because people go there, they feel something, depending on like what they're going to, of course, but like generally speaking, like let's say if I was to go to your gig, I would sit there for an hour, and it would touch on things in me that I will bring with me after, you know?
Totally.
And it's just such a normal thing in our society that it's almost taken for granted, but it's like a ritual that we do, and not even thinking about it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really, really like cathartic process for an audience, but also for someone playing to the audience. It's like you share this. Yeah, it's kind of like a very special sort of space that you share. And the other thing I'd sort of like to add to that is that it's a lot easier to like encourage emotional response from people through music than it is through talking, because it's almost more subtle. It like subtly weaves in by having a melody and like instruments, but then you still get the emotion from the song, but it's not like, okay, tell me about all the things you struggle with now, and then cry. Like
that might be a bit on the nose.
Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah, it's like it opens up a little door. I feel like that's the second time I've used the little door analogy in this.
I like it. Yeah.
Little
the
fairy
little
door. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I just am absolutely delighted that you do this today, and it's been like a massive pleasure for me, and it's a pleasure to know you, and I hope that we'll see each other more now after, well, whenever we can.
Yeah.
We can maybe do the garden thing sometime as well, or
definitely.
the park thing. It's all
We've got a balcony here.
Options.
We've got a balcony here. You can come and hang out on the balcony.
Very good. Very good. Yeah.
Outdoor balcony hang.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been lovely.
Yes.
It's been lovely to do. Thanks so much for asking. It's lovely to
You're
chat
very,
to
very
you.
welcome.
Yeah.
And you have been kind enough to agree to play a song.
Oh yes, yeah. Forgot about that. Forgot my guitar here.
Thanks so much.
Not at all.
Lovely.
I'll play you one
What's-
that I wrote in the lockdown.
Brilliant.
Feels
Yeah.
relevant. And I'm also recording it at the moment. So
Fantastic.
yeah,
What a pleasure.
It's a song called "If You Hide," and it's over time become a sort of bit of a mantra for getting yourself out there and heard and seen and stuff like that.
Lovely.
I dip my toe, I jump right in. Some time ago, you would have done the same. And over time, the gap it widens. You want to solve the impossible. I'd like to see you try to pull the wool right from your eyes. There's a world outside to realize when you've given up the fight, and nobody's gonna see you if you hide. The tone has been placate and keep it in. Run with the line that feeds the suffering. And over time, the gap it widens. You break for change, but you're scared of moving. And I'd like to see you try to pull the wool right from your eyes. There's a world outside to realize when you've given up the fight, and nobody's gonna see you. I'd like to see you try to pull the wool right from your eyes. There's a world outside to realize when you've given up the fight, and nobody's gonna see you. Nobody's gonna see you. Nobody's gonna see you if you hide.
Wow, so beautiful. Thank you Thank you so much. What an incredible song.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, that's it, folks. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for listening. What a beautiful song Hattie played at the end there. Can't wait to hear the studio version of that. Why can't I just appreciate the beautiful version that I just experienced live? I'm always jumping ahead. Anyway, Hattie Whitehead, check her out on Instagram, Hattie Whitehead Music, and all the usual places where you can listen to her stuff. She's an incredible artist. Yeah, go and do it. So here we go. Want to say goodbye to you. Make sure you support this podcast on whatever platform you listen to it on. And also, why not become a patron on patreon.com/Emmet O'Malley. Have a lovely week, and I will talk to you here next Tuesday. Bye bye.